Today I'm going to cover a legendary female singer that I have never talked about on this channel. And she has helped me to heal this week as, after my surgery, her songs. Today I'm actually going to count down 9 of the greatest female hidden gems in rock history. Songs that truly deserve the spotlight, including the heartbreaking tale of the vocalist I was talking about, the greatest voice of her generation. And she was virtually unknown while she was alive. She died at just 33 years of age. Only a handful of songs recorded that were paid for by her aunt. The labels flat out rejected her because they didn't know how to market her multifaceted style. But her posthumously released recordings have since sold over 12 million copies, including a song that she covered that somehow surpasses the legendary original. We also have an incredible story of a backup singer who found her career-launching top 10 hit on a random cassette tape that was lying on the floor of a car. The guy driving didn't want it. He handed it to her and said, "It's yours." Plus, the female group who broke up. Then a sleazy label allowed a blockbuster movie to use their hit and record a bunch of new instruments into the classic track without involving the band at all. Crazy stories, beautiful voices. Let's get into it. Hey, music junkies. I got 9 hidden gems from some of the best in music, including one of my favorite female singers ever. And her voice is truly healing. You'll see what I mean next. Starting to sing off at number 9, I've got a song that would have hit number 1, but the people behind the official charts thought the numbers were a scam. I got Kim Wilde with Kids in America. Written by English songwriters Ricky and Marty Wilde, actually Kim's brother and father, Kids in America was recorded in 1980 after Rack Records boss Mickey Most had heard Kim singing background vocals on one of Ricky's songs called Tearaway. Said Ricky, and I quote, "I wanted to be a singer. I went into a demo studio and recorded a couple of tracks and went into Rack Studios." And Mickey Most came out and heard it and said, "Yeah, I like it, but I want this to be recorded with a different producer," which I wasn't too happy about. Ricky asked his producer if his sister Kim could take care of the backing vocals, so Kim came in and she started singing. Meanwhile, Mickey Most came in, he saw her, he liked her look, and he loved her voice and said, maybe we can do something with her. And Ricky was thinking like, oh man, this deal just keeps getting worse and worse for me. Still, Ricky played the part of the good brother, and he went home that night and wrote the music for Kids in America, an 80s classic. To write Kids in America, he used his Wasp synthesizer, and he took more than a little inspiration from OMD's song Messages. The 2 siblings still lived at home with their parents. They actually had bedrooms right next to each other, according to the story. Kim remembers being really annoyed by all the pulsing beats coming out of Ricky's room while she was listening to Joni Mitchell. That was her jam. The lyrics were penned by their father, Marty, who himself was a former singer in 50s teen Idol. So it was a family affair. Down below, the cars in the city go rushing by. He had this fantasy of growing up in America where, for his generation, everything seemed a lot more compared to post-war World War II Britain. After writing the song, Ricky booked 2 days in a completely different studio because he wanted to get production credit on it. However, when they went to record, Marty hadn't finished the chorus yet, so he had to come up with that on the spot. But once they finished the track, they knew that they had a smash-ola. I sit here alone and I wonder why. He took the record to Mickey Most. He asked him what he thought about it. He said, "Man, it's a smash." When Kids in America was released in the UK in January of 1981, the single sold over 500,000 copies in the first month. In fact, it sold so much during its first week, the people who compiled the UK charts thought the sales figures were a scam. They refused to include it in the official chart that week, and it ultimately kept it from grabbing the number 1 spot. It had to settle for number 2 in the UK. Later, the single found a home on Kim's debut album in June of '81, but here in the US, the Kids in America release was delayed about a year. So it only peaked at number 25, but of course, Kim Wilde would have a number 1 hit in 1987 with her cover of You Keep Me Hanging On. Coming in number 8, I've got The Primitives with Crash. Do you remember this one? Tracing their beginning back to 1984, the lineup of the Primitives would undergo several changes until in 1987 the main group was comprised of guitarist Paul Court, singer Tracy Cattell, who went by Tracy Tracy, bassist Steve Dulligan, and drummer Tig Williams. Now the Primitives' first couple of singles, Through the Flowers and Really Stupid, were released as standalones. They both went to top 20 on the UK indie charts, but they missed the UK mainstream pop charts. However, the band pressed on with recording their debut album, Lovely, which was released in March of '88. And it was the third single from that album, Crash, our song today, that finally started making waves. With support from BBC Radio 1, the song went into the UK top 5. Now, the Primitives were definitely a bigger deal on the other side of the Atlantic, but here in the US, Crash did go number 3 on the alternative charts and was radio friendly. Speaking of being a big deal, in 1988, Melody Maker declared the Primitives to be the perfect band who had just about made the perfect single. Crash's jingle jangle guitar and sugary na 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 chorus made it an instant, irresistible feel-good hit. But just when you thought that this perfect pop song couldn't get any more pop or any more catchy, this is what happened. So let me explain. In 1994, actually late 94, 6 years after its original release, it was featured in the movie Dumb and Dumber.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Now, of course, being featured in one of the biggest blockbusters of the 90s, one of the biggest comedies, should have given the band a huge career boost. Only problem is the band had broken up back in 1992. But here's where things get really nuts. The original version was remixed to make it even more radio friendly, the one they put in the movie, without involving the Primitives. The new version, called Crash 95 Mix, it was reworked by the movie's music supervisors to include additional guitars and percussion and organ and backing vocals. Because the perfect pop song just wasn't pop enough, apparently. None of these new uncredited instruments were performed by the band members, though. While the band may have contractually agreed to license the song, the act of a major Hollywood film production meddling with a completed track to create a new version with the band members not even involved at all or have any decision-making is a pretty slimy move. Coming up next, at number 7, I've got Kim Deal's post-Pixies project, The Breeders with Cannonball. This one used to be all over MTV, right? Well, outside of that and some succession in the alternative charts, this one's all but faded into obscurity, and it's a great song. It's the closest the Breeders ever got to mainstream notoriety, with a number 44 ranking in the Hot 100. But for a hot minute, this was a big deal for Kim and the band and the indie crowd. Unhappy with her secondary role in the Pixies, bassist Kim Deal forged this spin-off project with Throwing Muses guitarist Tanya Donnelly. The name Breeders had actually been the name of a band Deal fronted prior to the Pixies with her twin sister Kelly. When the Pixies dissolved in 1993, largely due to tensions between Kim Deal and Black Francis, Kim's focus immediately shifted to the Breeders. Their second album, Last Splash, was released months later, and Cannonball rapidly made the band an MTV and alternative radio powerhouse. The song started life as a demo titled Grunge Gay, or Grunge, I don't know, I think it's Grunge. It's a mashup of the words grunge and reggae, which was a nod to its unique rhythm-heavy vibe. Get this, Cannonball's iconic bubbling bass line, which drives the entire track, one of the coolest of the 90s, it was actually a spontaneous mistake in the recording studio. So when bassist Josephine Wiggs recorded the iconic opening sequence, and the notes she played were not what she wanted. Reportedly, Wiggs played the bass riff in the wrong key, and trying to quickly correct the pitch, she created the slide and shift that became the final signature opening. The moment was a perfect happy accident, and the band insisted it stay in the final cut, and it made the song such a smash. The song's commercial peak came during a time of intense personal drama and tragedy, though. In a December 1993 Melody Maker cover story, Kim Deal was pictured alongside Kurt Cobain, who was a massive fan of Deal's. Nirvana actually toured with the Breeders. Just 4 months after that particular cover was published, though, Cobain was gone. In the year that followed, the Breeders, despite their massive success, were paralyzed by addiction, culminating in Kelly Dill's arrest for heroin possession in '94, which halted the band's career for nearly a decade. But the Breeders opened for Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters a couple of years ago. I saw them, and they still kick butt. Oh, man. They're just an awesome band. I love the Breeders. All right, coming in at number 6, I've got the Queen of Art Pop, who the critics said would never make it, and instead she became the standard. Kate Bush with Rubber Band Girl. And man, this one is criminally underrated. Does anyone remember when this one was on radio? Here in America, Rubber Band Girl is Kate Bush's 4th biggest single, coming in behind only Running Up That Hill, and then her duet with Peter Gabriel, Don't Give Up, and The Man with the Child in His Eyes. It actually came in at number 88 on the Billboard Hot 100. What's wrong with people? But now this song seems to have been all but forgotten. It only has like 4 million streams on Spotify. I think like 2 million views on YouTube. Kate was 35 when her album The Red Shoes arrived in '93. It had been 4 years since her previous album, The Sensual World. But by this point in her career, Kate Bush had been working flat out for 15 plus years. During that time, she hadn't slowed down or had time to focus on herself at all. Things were starting to unravel. In the early 90s, she entered a long-term relationship with bassist and engineer Del Palmer. And then sadly, her mother passed away in 1992. And her Red Shoes album was being developed all through this period, an intense period for her. Now, Rubber Band was the first of 4 singles from the album, and it was much more pop-sounding than Kate would ever have wanted. But as the title seems to imply, she needed to bounce back in a big way, and this is the song she felt that could help her to do that. The song was written fast in the studio, which was a real rarity for her. It was more of a message to herself. It was an anthem of self-worth and defiance. As catchy as it is, though, you can feel this in the lyrics, but that doesn't necessarily mean Kate was excited about this track. In fact, she was convinced it should be the album's first single against her better judgment, and this love-hate relationship will persist over the years of the song. Actually, in a 2011 interview with Mojo about her recent album Director's Cut, which features new versions of old songs, Kate would say in a quote, "I thought the original Rubber Band was, a fun track. I was quite happy with the original, but I just wanted to do something really different." But referring to her new album, she said, "It's my least favorite track. I considered taking it off altogether, to be honest, because it didn't feel quite as interesting as the other tracks, but I thought at the same time, it was just a bit of fun." All right, coming in at number 5 on the countdown, I have an entry that's a hidden gem female performance from the incredible Oleta Adams on Tears for Fears, A Woman in Chains. And man, this one is phenomenal. The song is a famine-inspired track written about Roland Orzabal's mother's experience of domestic violence. It's powerful, deeply personal, and features some insanely beautiful vocals by both Roland and Oleta. And incidentally, Phil Collins is also the guest drummer on the track. Phil was everywhere in the 80s, right? Let's get into Oleta's story. After the massive multi-platinum success of their 1985 album Song from the Big Chair, Roland and Kurt were worried that Tears for Fears had become more machine than man. The subsequent tour had become an overblown production, and they felt like they'd lost a part of their souls in the process. That's what they said. Now, desperate to find themselves again, they found just what they needed in a Kansas City piano bar. Said Roland, and I quote, "We played the concert. We played to thousands of people, huge PA, and it felt vacuous. After we'd showered, we went into the hotel bar. There was this woman called Oleta Adams singing and playing the piano with bass and drums. You didn't feel you could talk. You just had to listen, and it was incredible. I was in tears. She was in tears." It was a powerful contrast to the show they had just played. Tears for Fears, they wanted to have that kind of connection with their audience and with the music. In the Classic Albums documentary that came out in 2020, Orzabal said that meeting Oleta Adams shaped the course of the band for the next 4 years and beyond. Oleta was recruited to help with the creation of Tears for Fears' next album, The Seeds of Love. It was, of course, a pivotal moment for both the band and her own career. Invited to the recording sessions in London, she contributed vocals and piano to the LP. And her gospel and soul-rooted style was the perfect supplement to the band's rock-influenced pop and new wave. And her influence helped to steer the record's sound into a richer, more organic direction for sure. And I love that sound for The Seeds of Love. It really is great. Of course, her most famous contribution to that album is the lead vocal that she shares with Roland on Woman in Chains. Just so incredible, amazing. Her powerful, soulful delivery elevates that song, turning it into a tear-inducing duet. Unbelievably, Woman in Chains wasn't a major hit. It actually stalled at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. But I think it's one of the best songs of its time. And it was enough to put her in the international spotlight, and it led to her signing a solo contract with Tears for Fears' own label, Fontana, setting the stage for her chart-topping 1990 album Circle of One, and her amazing song, Get Here. Get here, just get here if you can. So heading into the number 4 spot, I've got the underplayed Fleetwood Mac track, Gold Dust Woman. This one's a dark, haunting masterpiece for sure. Written and sung by Stevie Nicks during the deeply turbulent recording sessions for Rumors, Gold Dust Woman is a layered confession about addiction, heartbreak, and the toxic environment surrounding the band. Now, while Stevie Nicks has never been completely, let's say, transparent on the meaning of the song, you can make a good case that it's about drugs, specifically cocaine, which the band was consuming in major quantities during the Rumors sessions. The lyrics, "Take your silver spoon, dig your grave," can be seen as a direct reference to the drug. Take your silver spoon, dig your grave. Stevie Nicks kept this meaning quiet for many years, only feeling comfortable discussing it after she'd successfully quit the drug in '86. Stevie confessed that Gold Dust was a direct reference to the drug. The song was also about somebody going through a really bad relationship, doing a lot of drugs and trying to just make it, trying to live. But there's another layer to this song. While widely accepted as being about drug abuse, Stevie Nicks also may have written it as a scathing lyrical attack on the women who were pursuing Lindsey Buckingham and other male members of the band. Stevie Nicks was distraught not only over her split from Buckingham, but also by his subsequent dating life. We've talked about this before. They were, kind of attacking each other in song. Shacking up, so you won't do. Only love you when they're playing. In a 1996 interview, she talked about the groupie-type ladies who pursued the male members of the band. She recalled that these women would give dirty looks to her and Christine McVie when the men were absent, only to change to sugary sweet smiles when the guys walked back into the room. Pick up the pieces and go home. Now, Gold Dust Woman, it was never released as a single, but it did make it onto the B-side of You Make Lovin' Fun. It's a hidden gem that deserves a lot more recognition. It's one of my favorite Mac tracks. Stevie Nicks at her most raw and vulnerable, a dark prophecy about her own battle with addiction wrapped in one of Fleetwood Mac's most haunting melodies, for sure. Girl, All right, coming in at number 3, I've got a truly haunting song on here. Going with Ode to My Family by the Cranberries. I mean, when it comes to Dolores O'Riordan and the guys in the band, Cranberries, they really got 3 massive singles everyone knows, right? Linger, Dreams, and Zombie.
Do you have to let it linger? Do my dreams. Zombie.
There were other songs that came into the top 25, but man, this band actually has such an incredible catalog filled with spectacular songs. All of them driven by Dolores' immaculate voice.
Standing there to notice.
Ode to My Family is definitely one of those songs, an angelic counterpoint to the fierce indignation of Zombie. Ode to My Family takes us to the countryside of Limerick, Ireland. The song is about Dolores' decision to become a rock star and the conflicts that decision caused with her parents and their Irish traditions. She actually sings it almost like a lullaby, and it's just haunting because her voice is always haunting. She's reminiscing on her family back in Ireland. Dolores wrote it to express her profound unhappiness and her homesickness immediately after the Cranberries achieved massive success with that debut album. The lyrics lament the loss of her simple, non-judgmental life in Limerick, contrasting that sharply with the overwhelming fame that she now had.
It wasn't my design.
In a previous interview, Dolores said this was one of the most therapeutic songs that she ever wrote. She said, and I quote, "Ode to My Family was written when I first came to America with the Cranberries. I was away from my family and my friends, and I was so lonely. And so I wrote that. That just came out."
Words when I was young.
Earlier in a 1994 interview, O'Riordan spoke about how the song was about missing the old days. She said exactly, when nobody judged you and you were a nobody. She directly referred to the intense pressure and the feeling that people everywhere think something better than I am, thinking she was better than she really was. The song essentially documents her identity crisis. She'd achieved the dream, but it made her miserable. In America, the No Need to Argue album was so widely anticipated that their record label Island didn't release any singles from the set, forcing listeners to buy the whole album. Ode to My Family was the second promo single from the album following Zombie. Now, because it wasn't sold in stores, it was ineligible for the Billboard Hot 100, but it did make number 39 on the Airplay chart in April 95, and of course went top 10 on the Modern Rock chart. And what a song. All right, coming in the bridesmaid position, I've got a song that's one of my favorites from its time. We covered it briefly in one of our top 10 yearly countdowns, but I want to go into detail here on this. Nicolette Larson's Lotta Love.
It's gonna take a lot of love.
This one did well back in the day. In the late 70s, it went to number 8 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on the AC chart.
Change the way things are.
But really, I feel like Nicolette doesn't get the recognition she deserves. Let's tell her story. Born in Helena, Montana, her family later relocated to Kansas City. But at 21, Nicolette made her way to California. And there in a club, she met a lady who organized the Golden State Bluegrass Festival, and they hired her as a secretary. Said Nicolette, and I quote, "From there, everything snowballed. You sing a little with somebody backstage, then you sing background on somebody's demo, then somebody lets you sing on an album, and pretty soon people are talking about you. Then you go out on the road with somebody, and they let you do a song in the show, and then pretty soon, people are saying that girl, she's good. And then they offer you a record deal." I love that. But for Nicolette Larson, that's exactly how it all went down. She became one of the most in-demand session vocalists in LA. She spent the 70s singing with a number of acts. There was Hoyt Axton, the Beach Boys, Emmylou Harris, Michael McDonald, the Doobie Brothers, Linda Ronstadt, and Neil Young. In 1978, Lenny Waronker, he signed her to Warner Brothers, and he put her with producer Ted Templeman and Bill Payne. This is where Lotta Love comes in and makes her a star. I love this story. So Nicolette explained that she found a random tape lying on the floor of Neil Young's car. It was really messy. She picked up the tape, she popped it in, she was playing it, and she loved it she was hearing.
It's gonna take a lot of love.
She's like, man, this song is great. And Neil's like, oh, you want it? It's yours, take it. This casual act of generosity instantly launched Larson's solo career. I mean, with Templeman's smooth production and Jimmy Haskell's sophisticated string arrangement, Lotta Love became an American top 10 hit in 1979.
So do I.
The song's core message is right there in the central refrain. It's going to take a lot of love to change the way things are. It's going to take a lot of love or we won't get too far.
We won't get too far.
While Neil Young's original rendition had a more melancholic and despairing tone, Nicolette Larson's polished soft rock arrangement infused the track with a feeling of optimism and genuine warmth. It completely transformed it, and that's what her voice was, just like a warm blanket. Her voice makes you feel safe. It makes you feel loved. Anyway, that was essentially her only hit. She had a minor hit after that with Let Me Go Love, hit number 35 the next year. That was about it. Then she had 6 hits on the country charts. She was engaged to musician Andrew Gold. Then she dated Weird Al Yankovic for a time. Actually, Al would later write the song You Don't Love Me Anymore. It was a style parody of Larson's work for his 1992 album Off the Deep End.
You tell all your friends that I'm the Antichrist.
Now, Larson ended up marrying drummer Russ Kunkel, and the two had a daughter. They would remain married until Nicolette passed away on December 16, 1997 in L.A. as a result of complications arising from cerebral edema triggered by liver failure. She was only 45 years old. Man, Nicolette Larson deserved better. She had such an incredible voice, and I think there was a comeback in there had she lived, because nobody sings like Nicolette. I think she's so underrated. All right, we've made it to number 1, and I'm telling you, this woman's voice healed me this week. My mind has been so scatterbrained since the surgery. It was a 4-hour surgery, been in a lot of pain, and I've just listened to this voice. It's gotten me through the last 4 or 5 days, and I've never talked about this female artist on this channel before. It's one of my favorites. My wife actually introduced me to her years ago. For this one, I'm going to give you 2 songs, a 2 for 1, 2 hidden gems from this artist. Mostly unknown to the world until after her death. I'm talking about Eva Cassidy and the songs Songbird and Fields of Gold.
And the songbirds keep singing. We walked in fields of gold.
And these performances are absolutely heart-wrenching in the best possible way. Eva Cassidy was described by The Guardian as one of the greatest voices of her generation, and no truer words have ever been spoken. Tragically, she remained virtually unknown outside of her native Washington, D.C. when she died of melanoma in 1996 at just 33 years of age. Now, from an early age, Eva displayed incredible artistic and musical talent, though. When she was 9 years old, her father taught her to play guitar, and she began performing at family gatherings.
For you. Among the fields of barley.
Throughout the 80s, Eva Cassidy worked with a number of bands while also holding down day jobs as a propagator at a plant nursery and a furniture painter in Annapolis, Maryland. She had a diverse repertoire spanning jazz and blues and folk and gospel and pop, and various record companies showed real interest in signing her. But all the offers required Eva to pigeonhole herself within a single style, something she adamantly refused to do, no matter the money. In January of 96, Cassidy recorded the album Live at Blues Alley, about which the Washington Post later commented that she could sing anything and make it sound like the only music that mattered.
My darling.
And that's the perfect way to say it. Whenever Eva Cassidy sang, she made it sound like the only music that ever mattered. Now, during a promotional event for the album in July 96, Eva Cassidy noticed an ache in her hips. Now, she attributed this to stiffness from painting, but the pain persisted. A few weeks later, she was diagnosed with melanoma. And by the time of her diagnosis, the cancer had spread throughout her body. Eva Cassidy died just a few months later on November 2nd, 1996. And despite having a flawless, transcendent cover of Songbird in her catalog, one that somehow even surpasses Christine McVie's version. And if you don't believe me, listen to the whole thing. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
And the songbirds are singing, and I love you, I love you, I love you.
Eva Cassidy was a complete failure by music industry standards during her lifetime. She was famously shunned by major labels who loved her voice but didn't know how to market her because she refused to be pigeonholed into a single genre like jazz or folk. Her producer Chris Biondo stated that Blue Note Records president Bruce Lundvall later called it a very bad mistake that they had passed on her. And actually, it's funny, one of the most beloved and successful posthumous tracks in history was recorded by a singer who actually had to use money that was gifted to her from an aunt to pay for the initial pressing of the recording that contained Songbird. It's because the entire industry thought that Eva Cassidy wasn't a commercial asset.
Like never before.
The crazy thing is that when she finally did get a record deal, Eva's label put together her album almost as more or less a tribute before she died. They were well aware of her impending death.
'Cause I feel that when I'm with you.
Actually, Blick Street Records president Bill Straw was introduced to Eva Cassidy's music by fellow artist Grace Griffith shortly before Eva's death from cancer. Straw listened to Eva's tapes, including Songbird, and immediately knew that they had to be heard. So one of the best singers ever, and he's absolutely right. However, the dramatic and heartbreaking part is what he recalled next. He said, "I knew she was going to be famous, and I also knew that she would never live to enjoy it." This incredible premonition meant the label's Songbird album, which contained her definitive rendition of that track, was purposefully assembled in 1998 as a retrospective to introduce a ghost to the world, making its 6 times platinum, multi-million selling global success all the more tragic. Her compilation album Songbird reached #1 on the UK album charts, and her posthumous releases after that have sold in excess of 12 million copies. Eva definitely opened the door for Norah Jones and others who couldn't be pigeonholed but became majorly successful from their talent.
I feel that when I'm with you. Walking fields of gold.
Her renditions of Songbird and Fields of Gold are just stunning. Eva Cassidy's voice was a gift to the world that we almost missed entirely.
Since those summer days.
These hidden gems deserve to be heard by everyone. Her interpretations of these songs, they're among the most beautiful recordings ever made.
As you lie in fields of gold.
Like I said, my wife got me into Eva many years ago, and I'm so grateful for her work. And, she sold 12 million copies of just a couple of songs that she recorded. She only had a handful of songs that she actually recorded before death. It was such a missed opportunity that they didn't sign her earlier, and what a loss. Had Eva lived, I think she would have been one of the greatest ever. Her voice is just transcendent, universal, it's glorious. I can't say enough about it.
Like never before.
For me, it comes down to Karen Carpenter, Eva Cassidy, Ann Wilson, Harriet Wheeler from the Sundays, Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries, Kate Bush. We're just so blessed to have these incredible voices. It's been so fun sharing this with you. Let's have a great discussion below. Let's talk about their careers, these songs. What are some other hidden gems? Have you ever heard Eva Cassidy? If you haven't, you got to check her out. You're going to love her. If you like her content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.